Imagine waking up in a place that shouldn't exist, surrounded by beings that defy every law of biology we know. For some, the most terrifying part of an alien abduction isn't the flashing lights in the sky. It's the bizarre physical evidence left behind that suggests these stories are much more than just a dream. Strange physical calling cards and beings that violate the typical gray stereotype are common in abduction reports from all over the world. 20 of the most bizarre instances from around the globe are listed here. 1. The 1965 Valençol incident in France. The story: two tiny, big-headed creatures landed a spherical vehicle in the lavender field of farmer Maurice Massé, paralyzing him. They froze him in place by pointing a device that resembled a pencil at him. The strange: Massé experienced severe hypersomnia for weeks afterward, sleeping up to 15 hours every day. Most remarkably, nothing sprouted for decades in the vitrified, barren earth at the landing site. Number 2. The 1957 Brazilian case of Antonio Vilas-Boas. The story: Vilas-Boas was carried onto a ship by tiny helmeted creatures who produced barking sounds as he was tilling his crops at night. The oddity: he said he was compelled to mate with an alien woman who was naked and had cat-like eyes and brilliant red pubic hair. She indicated that she would raise their hybrid child in space by pointing first to her abdomen and then to the sky. Number 3. Russia's Voronezh incident, 1989. The story: several kids saw a 9-foot-tall, three-eyed giant emerge from a glowing craft in a public park. A little robot that resembled a box accompanied the thing. The strange: it is said that the giant used a tube to make a 16-year-old lad vanish and then reappear. A layer of state-level mystery was added when the event was reported as a scientific fact by TASS, the official Soviet news agency. Number 4. The 1955 Kelly Hopkinsville encounter in the United States. The story: two families in rural Kentucky engaged in a siege against tiny silvery goblins that floated toward their farmhouse and had enormous ears and shining eyes. The oddity: it appeared as though bullets bounced off the animals with a metallic ping. The creatures swayed or floated instead of walking, and when they were shot, they would turn over and run on all fours. 5. China's Mengjiaogou incident, 1994. The story: believing it to be a downed weather balloon, a forest worker followed an odd light into the mountains. A beam struck him, knocking him out. The strange: he described having a 40-minute sexual encounter with a female alien that was 10 feet tall, had 6 fingers, and had braided fur on her legs. He subsequently stated that he was able to float because a piece of metal had been inserted into his leg. 6. The Abductions at Pier Zanfretta, Italy, 1978. The story: after witnessing a huge, green-skinned monster with hairy skin and yellow triangle eyes, security guard Pier Zanfretta was discovered stunned and afraid. The strange: there were 11 reported kidnappings of Zanfretta. He referred to the creatures as Dargos from the planet Titania. 52 witnesses reported seeing UFOs in the vicinity on the same nights, according to an Italian Carabinieri investigation. 7. Scotland's 1992 A70 abduction. The story: a curtain of light fell over the car of two friends, Gary Wood and Colin Wright, as they were traveling to Edinburgh. They had no recollection of the travel and arrived 90 minutes late. The strange: while under hypnosis, they remembered being scanned by small, gray-skinned beings that led them into a dark, dark room. After the experience, Gary Wood saw an odd physical mark, a tiny, painless hole in his skin. 8. The disappearance of Frederick Valentich, 1978, Australia. The story: Valentich reported a massive metallic aircraft playing a game with him by radioing air traffic control while he was flying above Bay Strait. The peculiarity was that he ended by saying, "It is not an aircraft." Before the radio died, there was a metallic scratching sound. The pilot and his plane were never located, even after one of the biggest searches in Australian history. 9. The Allagash 4, 1976, USA. The story: after using a flashlight to alert a UFO, 4 artists on a canoeing excursion in Maine were kidnapped. The strange: during individual hypnosis sessions, all 4 men remembered the same details, being carried into a craft by insect-like, 4-fingered creatures with membrane skin that collected samples of skin and bodily fluids. 10. The 1967 French Cussack encounter. The story: While herding cows, a 13-year-old boy and his 9-year-old sister noticed 4 tiny jet-black creatures that were about 3 feet tall floating close to a spherical. The oddity: the creatures released a potent sulfur odor as they soared back into the sphere. According to reports, a disturbance that the kids couldn't hear caused the cows in the field to become agitated and congregate. These weird abduction and near-encounter cases from around the world, which seldom make the typical best-of lists, will help you explore the stranger, lesser-known aspects of ufology. The story. Jan Wolski, a 71-year-old farmer, came into 2 short, green-faced beings wearing black overalls while he was operating his horse-drawn cart. They asked him to bring them to a clearing after courteously getting on his cart. The oddity: these creatures were strangely polite, in contrast to horrific gray encounters. They requested Wolski to undress for a brief examination, welcomed him on board their bus-like vehicle, which hovered via drills at the corners, and gave him an odd snack that resembled ice, which he graciously declined. As he departed, he bowed, and they reciprocated. The story. An orange UFO landed while 2 7-year-old boys were playing in a vineyard. A 4-foot-tall beast with wrinkled brown skin and 3 enormous metallic fangs emerged from a hatch. The strange, one of the guys was paralyzed after the alien tapped him on the shoulder. According to the lads, the alien's voice sounded like a tape recorder running backward. In Japan, the case is well known, but in the West it is essentially unknown. The story. 3 times, Huang Yanchu, a farmer, unexpectedly disappeared from his village. In the first instance, he fell asleep and woke up 1,140 kilometers away in Nanjing the following morning. The strange: he said that 2 men that looked like traffic police and had the ability to fly carried him. He said that these creatures transported him across the nation on their backs during his 3rd abduction, landing on a Shanghai theater roof and gaining unimpeded access to military installations.
You do not know who we are or where we come from. The story. Corporal Armando Valdez and his squad noticed a bright light while on patrol close to the Andes. Valdez disappeared after going into the light to look around. "You do not know who we are or where we come from," he yelled as he reappeared 15 minutes later, stumbling. The oddity. Despite having just been gone for 15 minutes, he had grown a beard that was 5 days old, and his digital watch showed a date that was 5 days away.
The story. Gustavo Gonzalez and his assistant noticed a sphere obstructing the road when they were driving to buy chickens. A dwarf-like hairy monster came toward them. In a panic, Gonzalez started a fist fight with the alien. The oddity: Gonzalez's dagger snapped as if it had struck solid rock as he attempted to stab the thing. Gonzalez was thrown 15 feet through the air by the extraordinarily powerful creature before it fled into the ship. The story. An alien was shot by a Wyoming elk hunter, but the bullet floated slowly and fell to the ground. A 6-foot-tall creature with straw-like hands and no neck named Auso-1 abducted him. The strange. According to Higdon, he was transported to a planet where he observed human beings in cages. Upon his return, the bullet he shot was discovered inside out like a metal flower, and his truck was discovered in the bottom of a gorge with no road access. The story. In a clearing, forester Robert Taylor discovered a massive spherical spaceship. Abruptly, 2 smaller spheres that resembled spiked sea mines rolled in his direction, clung to his legs, and pulled him in the direction of the ship. The oddity. A chemical odor knocked him out, and when he woke up, his pants were ripped at the hips. In British history, this is the only UFO case that the police have formally looked into as a criminal attack. The story. Filiberto Caponi, an artisan, discovered a ball of skin that was breathing after hearing an odd noise inside his home. He took Polaroids of the monster over the course of several weeks as it appeared to evolve or heal. The strange. The images depict a horrifying biological mess, a creature that resembles raw clay or a partially developed fetus, occasionally wrapped in gauze or tubes. The crybaby was the moniker given to the creature due to its cries. The story. A bright, egg-shaped object pursued a family as they drove over the Nullarbor Plain. Their automobile was forcefully shaken when the item grabbed onto its roof and physically lifted it off the road. The oddity: the family's dogs went crazy, and a black, ash-like dust filled the automobile. The car's roof was indented, as if something enormous had clamped onto it when they later examined it. The narrative: Zygmunt Adamski disappeared after going to get potatoes. His body was discovered 5 days later in a secured coal yard 20 miles distant on a 12-foot-tall coal mound. The peculiarity was that, although not wearing a shirt, his suit jacket was correctly buttoned. His neck was covered in odd burns that seeped a green goo. The coroner determined that he had died from a heart attack brought on by extreme terror, and even though he had been missing for 5 days, his beard had only grown for 1 day, indicating that he had been outside of time or maintained in suspended animation.